Now, a while back, I wanted to get the Prime 1 Studios Zod in Apostle form from Berserk, this giant statue right here, but I just decided that it was just too big.
That's what she said.
So because that was too big, instead of getting that, I went ahead and got the TSUME version right here, which is also too big. As the Extreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we are giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey guys, welcome to the Extreme channel. I have a beast underneath the table and in front of me. This is Zod in Apostle form from Berserk, made by TSUME. This is an incredibly giant, elaborate statue diorama, and there is so much to talk about today because TSUME did a lot of awesome things, and I'm going to be honest with you, first time I'm ever disappointed in that company as well. There's some very questionable things on this too. If you're unfamiliar, Berserk is an anime or manga which details the life of a character named Guts and a character named Griffith and a whole bunch of supporting characters as they go out and they kill a bunch of creatures and people, and it is just phenomenal. I absolutely love it. I'm on volume 7 right now. This statue right here represents one of the coolest scenes. So you have those two characters, the primary characters in front, and then you have Zod, who's like a god. And he actually has a human form, and I have a statue of that. You can check out the review right here. These are some of my favorite statues, super elaborate, super bloody, about a manga story that is just fantastic. So excited to have them. I'm going to put them next to that other Zod. If you want to see what that looks like, make sure to check out the Extreme Channel Instagram, Facebook page, and TikTok. Because that's who sponsored this video. Extreme Channel actually sponsored this video. They paid for everything here. Make sure to check out their website because they do daily blogs and weekly newsletters. But anyway, back to this guy. We're going to try and review him today. And it's going to be very non-traditional because, as you see, this is just so big. Not only is it so big, but there's some obstacles, especially in design. But before we talk about the design, let's talk about the concept of this piece, which simply put is amazing. So as I said, this is from, I believe, when Guts first met Zod and Zod first met Guts, and it was finally a worthy adversary for Zod. He was in his human form, and then he turned into his apostle beast form here, and then eventually wings popped out of his back and he flew out. But on the base here, you can't see all of it in the picture right here, but they have tons of things on the sub base. They have storylines, and the eggs, as I call them, that are a big part of the storyline. It's labeled Berserk. They have the Brain of Sacrifice, some detail ornate stuff. Then the temple floor is on the bottom. It is all smashed up and bloody, and there are fallen victims. Some of the band of Hawk, which is the army that Griffith actually led. Guts and Griffith are in an action dynamic pose attacking Zod. There's huge pillars in the back. There's torches that are going on. Zod is in a fierce beast mode, ready to destroy them after he smashed the floor and killed the other guys. This just looks fabulous. And as I'm talking about the concept, I understand it's probably hard for you to see because there's certain angles you have to be at. And ultimately, I'm at one of the best angles right here. But I love the concept. I think it's an absolute 5 out of 5. TSUME knocked it out of the park. I'm a big fan. Design, I am not a big fan. There were so many problems with this, and some have yet to be resolved. Before we dive into what those are, and there are a few good things, let's look at the complicated unboxing and assembly. Two absolutely huge, monstrous boxes. One probably weighed 70, 80 pounds. TSUME usually does a pretty fancy job not only with the art box, but they literally wrap it in a bow for you. You can see that right here. So here is the first layer, and there was a big issue. Zod himself was completely broken. The resin was broken in half on the leg. That's unfortunate. Here's the next box. You have another layer. And then the base was an additional layer, and it did scuff up the front of the Berserk sign on the S down here. All right, TSUME also gave me a little envelope. How do you say it? By the way, your mother's sister is an insect. She's an ant. She's not an aunt. You got the COA. So we have a paper COA here, and then also you have a metallic COA right in the front. Before I talk about some of the problems, let me just measure him because that is one of the problems. The deepest part of the base is probably about 31 inches, but his tail is even deeper than that. The highest point is probably his elbow, is about 25 inches. Actually, the tail is probably higher. That's about 27 inches. And then the widest point with the pillars, I'm back here, trust me, is about 23 inches, but it probably juts out the higher you go. So this is going to command a lot of display space. Not only that, but it's incredibly hard to display because all the characters are kind of looking down. So you can't have this displayed anywhere below eye level, which creates another problem because it is so heavy. As I talked about in the unboxing, the base alone is probably like 50 pounds. It is just unbelievable. I'm scared to death to move it, honestly. There are some display options, so let's check those out. First, Guts, you have an unmasked portrait, or unhelmeted, I should say, and this looks great. And then you have one where he has his armored helmet on. Same thing with Griffith. Here's one with his helmet. And then one without and his hair flowing. These pillars right here are optional as well. You can remove them and replace them like this. So here's a picture with the pillars. Here's a picture without. And it's these little discs that are actually taking up the space. And on this back, you have this guy that's perched against the pillar. So if you remove the pillar, you can replace him with a leg right here. You see some light up features. So the base has a light up feature that controls the torches. However, mine isn't working on this pillar over here. You have to brace the pillar up to get it to work. But if it naturally falls, it turns off. So that's definitely a big issue. Zodd's eyes do light up, but I'm at the office and they take those little watch batteries. I don't have any of those here, so I'll have to get those later. I'll post a video on TikTok, so make sure you follow me on TikTok. So I did have a nasty damage. Check this out. Here it is out of the box. And then here it is right here, you can see. So I'm gonna need a replacement body. I'm praying this will hold up. Also, I had a broken sword here on the base. So really, with the design, you have a pretty nasty seam line on Zodd's head right here. So really the problems with it are some nasty seam lines. The engineering didn't fit together really well. The light up feature doesn't fully work. I had some breakages, but really the worst part of this is the weight and how it's displayed. There's no angle where you can see all three characters. You're gonna have to display it in exactly the right spot. Honestly, this is just too big. So I think the design is very, very poor on this piece. It actually gets a 2 out of 5 for me. However, the paint and sculpt is better. Some areas are better than others, so let's take a look at that. All right, so I'm going to do the best I can, but as we talked about, just seeing the angles of everything is incredibly difficult. So let's look at the switch out portraits first. Here's Griffith. A little too calm, in my opinion, for the fight, even though that was kind of a traditional characteristic of Griffith. The hair looks great. I'm not digging how blue they went on it. Granted, I read it in black and white, so it's hard for me to judge, but I think they hit the portrait well. I like that they didn't make him too feminine, as traditionally he is. I probably will display the masked version right here, though. Now, mine does have, I don't know if that's supposed to be there. I don't think it is. That another big paint chip. I'm just noticing that now. But the eyes look like decals, so, I mean, it's okay. I don't want to make the illusion that it's great. It's not as good as some of their other pieces. The Guts portrait is much better. So here's the unmasked version, which I'm probably going to have. Not a fan of the way the paint is splattered. But again, you really can't see it that well. And then we'll get close-ups of the other one. Here's another close-up of that metallic COA. That's pretty cool with the egg on it. So on the bottom, they did a lot of things. There's some storyline going on here. Looks like that's when Griffith was with the princess. Some of the eggs, some symbols, the writing. It looks fantastic. I love this sub base down here. I think they did a really nice job. As I said, really hard to turn this because it's so heavy. and different expressions on the egg. So there are a lot of cool Easter eggs hidden throughout. The bottom of the temple floor looks pretty good. As we talked about, this is more of a anime, manga, as opposed to like a realistic version, a realistic take. So, but I think this balanced it well. I'm not sure about some of the blood. I like the amount of it. I'm not sure the color. It doesn't look like it's coagulating like blood really would. Not that I'm around it that often. Now, a lot of the PVC, the plastic parts, you can tell they're plastic. From the swords here to some of the stuff, the torches. I like the translucent resin on the flicker where the flame is. That's pretty cool. The pillar, again, a little bit looks like a toy. And I don't mean that really derogatory, just doesn't have some micro detail that I would expect. But on the characters, like the cape, look at the flow of the cape. You see some texture on there, and then the shading. I like the black shading. It's almost too much, but Guts' armor, again, kind of hard to get this. They did a nice job on the sculpt of the clothes, and even little details like the spurs from their boots. And I think Griffith has those as well. Let's move into Guts' portrait here. I like the rage that he shows. I don't know, I might display this masked one as well. They did the small amount of skin color. You can see they did great. Again, it's 1/6 scale, I believe. 1/7 maybe. Same thing with a lot of the same comments about Griffith. Not really any texture on the cape. The armor here, parts of it look a little bit plasticky. And I don't know if that's the paint or just the material it's made out of. I like the blood effect on the sword. That's pretty cool. And we kind of missed over Guts' Berserk sword here. It's the classic part of Guts. The soldiers down here look okay. They're kind of an afterthought. Like the portraits look horrible, honestly. But how often are you going to get behind it and take a look at these? The intestines look nice. Of course, let's get to Zod. So the fur looks good. It's hard to do sculpted fur, so I give them a lot of props on that. Still got some white pieces I need to get out. They did a decent job, as we talked about, with the seam lines here. The color is good. There's that mix of brown. It's really popping a lot more on camera than it is in real life. Horns, I like the Prime 1 Studios horns much better, but these aren't bad. His hoofs down here, not a fan of that at all. Definitely, you can tell it's, resin and plastic. However, they did a nice job with his nails and the blood dripping from his nails. That's a very cool effect right there. But his portrait, again, kind of difficult. That's why you got to display him up high. Down here, I think is solid, really solid. Very evil, very menacing. I like him a lot. It's almost too much going on to try and figure out what's good and what's bad. And as expected, with this much going on, you're going to find good and you're going to find bad. So let's see how they rank. All right, so I give the paint, I give it a 4 out of 5. I think it's pretty impressive despite some of the flaws I talked about. Sculpt, if you take the bottom of the base here, you take the characters, you take Guts and Griffith, you take Zod, I think it's a 4 out of 5. I think it's done really, really well. Let's ignore some of those other poor parts because that's not what we're really looking at anyway. So value, I picked this up from Spec Fiction. The retail on this is about $1,600. They made $666. Shipping, I don't even know how much it was anymore, but it was hundreds of dollars to get this here on the table. Now, Berserk pieces are really popular, and your only other choice is that monster piece from Prime 1 Studios, who I think the Zod itself is done better. You can actually check out Gem Mint's review of it right here. But I like this statue better as a whole. Also, this one will probably fit where I need it to fit. Do you notice how good I'm being? I didn't even say it the last 3 times. So because Berserk pieces keep going up, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. TSUME seems to hold their quality on most of their pieces. And despite a lot of these flaws, I'm still really impressed. Does this have the X factor? Of course this does. This is a 5 out of 5 statue. This is awesome, dynamic. If you're a Berserk fan, you're absolutely going to love this. Despite all those design issues, props to TSUME for putting this together. Still a pain in the ass, but I absolutely love it. Let me know what you think of this piece. Throw that down in the comments below because you could win a statue. We will be giving all of these statues away, plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate you being here. Thanks for helping me get through this. I'm pretty sick, so I appreciate you watching. Drop me a like just for that. And stay tuned because I have a bunch more Berserk pieces coming. Take care, guys.